Hi students, welcome in chemistry classes. Today's topic is complexometric titration, and here what we have to study? In this video we will study its basic principle. Okay, then we will see somewhat about the chelating agent. It means EDTA. Okay. Then we have to study the pH dependence of the EDTA, and then we have to see the types of the titration. Okay, and then we have to see the masking and demasking. Okay, and then we will see the various problems that has been asked in the CSIR net as well as in the GATE exam. Okay, so this is the things that we have to study in this particular video. Okay, so comes to our topic, what is complexometric titration? Complexometric titration means complex formation. It is also known as the chelatometry. Okay, from the both name you can understand here, chelatometry means chelate formation, or here complexometric means complex formation. Both the things are same. So in this titration there is the formation of complex. Actually it is a process of volumetric analysis. Volumetric analysis, here we have to do the quantitative analysis of the metal ions that are present in the mixture. We have given a mixture in which some metals are present, and now we have to determine their amount. So that is called the quantitative analysis of these metal ions, right? Okay, so this is a very important topic of the analytical chemistry, and if you have seen my playlist of analytical chemistry, I have done a lot of videos on it, like the polarography, mass spectrometry, and potentiometric titration, conductometric titration, etc. Okay, and soon we will make some more videos on the analytical chemistry. So if you have not subscribed my channel, please subscribe it and please press the bell icon, right? Okay. So now we have to see the basic principle of this topic. What is the basic principle of the conductometric titration? Okay. So as I have told you, it is actually the chelate formation. So the titration is done by the chelate formation, or the endpoint is detected by the formation of chelate. Suppose we have given a solution in which metal ions are present, right? This is the metal ion, and when we are adding it to it, the chelating agent, what will happen? The chelates have the tendency to form complex. Okay, so this will form the complex with the metal chelate complex is formed in this manner, right? So this is the basic thing by which we can detect the end point. There will be a color change. We are ending somewhat indicator, so there is a change in the color by which we can detect the end point, or there are different methods for the end point detection. I will tell you that later. Okay, so this is the basic principle. Suppose we have given a mixture of calcium and magnesium ions, right? We have given this mixture. Okay, we have given this is the conical flask. Okay, in that we have given a mixture of Ca+2 and magnesium+2 ions. Okay, that we have to detect, that we have to analyze. Now we will add some indicator to it, so that what will happen? This indicator will form the complex with the metal ions that we can denote in this manner. This is the metal indicator complex. Okay, and to fix the pH of this solution, we will have to add a buffer solution by which we can set the pH of this solution, right? So here the metal indicator complex is formed. Now what we have to do? From the burette, this is the burette. Okay, in this manner, this is a burette, and here we have added a chelating agent. This is the solution of the chelating agent, and in more common cases the chelating agent is the EDTA. Okay, we will take the disodium salt of the EDTA because it is water soluble, right? So we are adding it drop by drop here, right? So what will happen? This EDTA will form the complex with the metal. This metal indicator complex is less stable as compared to this. This is more stable. Metal EDTA complex is more stable. So when we are adding the EDTA, what is happening? Here a metal to EDTA complex is formed. Okay. Suppose this is red in color. Okay. Now as soon as this metal EDTA complex is formed, it will change the color. Its color is suppose blue. Okay. So there is a color change, right? By this color change, we can detect the endpoint. So this is the whole principle of the complexometric titration. Okay, now we have to see a little bit about the complexing agent or the chelating agent. What are it? If you have seen the coordination chemistry, if you have studied the coordination chemistry, I think you know about the chelating agents. Any ligand that can donate the electron pairs to the metal and it can complex with it is called the chelating agent. Suppose in general cases we have seen the NH3. If you have seen my videos of the coordination chemistry, you will know about it. Okay. Suppose we have given the chloride ions, or we have given the iodide ions, or we have given the cyanide ions. These all are the chelating agent. These can form the complex with the metal. These are monodentate ligands because it can coordinate to the metal from one side only. There may be bidentate ligands also like ethylene diamine, or there may be polydentate ligands like EDTA. So in the most cases we use the polydentate ligands. Why? I tell you why this happens. Suppose we are taking this monodentate ligand I minus. So what will happen? Suppose we have to detect this cadmium ion. So it will stepwise form the complex with this iodide ion. This is the iodide ion. Firstly it will complex with it in this manner. So we are getting this one. Okay. Then it will again complex with it. So it will form now CDI2. Then it will again complex with it. And it will form CDI3 minus, and then again, and it will form ultimately CDI4 minus 2. Okay, this is the ultimate complex. Okay, and all of them will have the different formation constants like K1, K2, K3, K4. Now what is the difficulty here? The values of this all are nearly same. There is a little difference between its values. So when we are detecting the endpoint, we will get a poorly defined endpoint. So we cannot use these monodentate ligands for the complexometric titration. We have to use the EDTA. Okay, so we come to the EDTA. EDTA can form the 1:1 complex with the metal ions. What is EDTA? EDTA means ethylene diamine tetraacetic acid. As you can see from its name, it is quite large structure. Suppose in this manner. These are the two CH2 groups, okay, and these are two nitrogens. Like, okay, the nitrogens will have one lone pair of electrons, and there will be the acetate groups attached to it. Right, this is the structure of EDTA. Okay, now you can see here are 6 binding sites. 2 of these nitrogen atoms, the nitrogen atoms have lone pair of electrons, so they can donate these lone pair of electrons to the metal, so they can bind with them. Okay, and these are the 4 acetate groups that can also bind to the metal. So there are 6 sites, and it can bind to metal from the 6 sides, and it can form the cake-like structure. See here how it can form the cake-like structure. Suppose this is a metal. Okay, now from one side this is the nitrogen bind to it. These are two CH2 groups, and this is the another nitrogen that can also bind. So 2 sides are now completed. Okay, now this is the CH2 group, and then C double bond O and O, and this can bind to metal. Okay, similarly from here this is CH2, C double bond O, and this is oxygen, this can bind here, right? Similarly here this is CH2 and then C double bond O, and this is the another oxygen that can bind to metal, and similarly here CH2 double bond O, and this is the oxygen that can bind to metal. So it is forming a cake-like structure around the metal from the 6 sides. So it is a polydentate ligand and it can form 1:1 complex with the metal. Okay, now we have to see one important thing, that is pH dependence of the ADTA, because I have seen some questions based on this particular topic asked in the question paper. Okay, so we have to already see the pH dependence of the ADTA. EDTA can also be denoted as Y-4. This is the whole structure of EDTA, and the -4 charges are of 4 acetate ions, right? And it's the fully protonated form. If whole the 6 sides are protonated, 2 nitrogens and 4 acetate groups, then we are getting the fully protonated form, that is denoted by in this manner S6Y+2. Okay, this is the general form and this is the fully protonated form, right? Now suppose this is reacting with the cadmium. These all are in the aqueous form, so we can also write here aqueous in the abbreviations. Okay, this is the equilibrium that will settle down. So now the formation constant is given in this manner, CdY minus 2 concentration divided by the concentration of Cd plus 2 ions and the concentration of Y minus 4 ions, and here the formation constant is quite larger, that is 2.9 into 10 to power 16, right? Now this all forms, you can see here I have made a scale here. This is called the pH scale of the ADTA. Here you can see that these whole forms will exist at a particular pH. This Y minus form will exist, this Y minus form of the EDTA will exist at the pH 10.17 and above it. It means if we see a pH of greater than or equal to 12, then the most of the EDTA will be in the form of Y minus 4. Okay, and as the pH decreases, we are getting the different protonated form, and this S6Y+2 form exists at highly acidic conditions, right? So we cannot take the formation constant. Why? Because we are carrying out the titration for the different metal ions, and different metal ions will give the results at the different pH, right? So we have to take a particular pH for a particular form of the EDTA, right? So we have to need another formation constant, that is called the conditional formation constant. Okay, and it is denoted by Kf dash. Okay, if Kf is given by Cdy minus 2 divided by Cd plus 2 alpha 4 CH4Y, then the Kf dash, the relationship between this and this Kf, this is given by Kf alpha 4. Okay, so it can also be written as Cdy minus 2 concentration divided by concentration of Cd plus 2 and CH4Y. Okay, now what are these terms? This alpha 4. This alpha 4 is the fraction of this Y minus 4 form. Okay, and this CH4Y is called the total concentration of the EDTA that is present in the solution. Okay, so by this formula we can find out the conditional formation constant. Okay, so we can say more stable a chelate, larger will be its formation constant, right, and larger will be the end point. Okay, and more stable a chelate, then lower will be the pH at which we can carry out the titration. Okay. So in the case of the some ions like Ca+2, it requires a pH of greater than or equal to 8. In the case of some ions like Fe+3, Indium+3, Thorium+4 and Hg+2, in all these cases we require a pH that is slightly acidic, it means almost equal to 3. Okay. But in some cases like Cd+2, Aluminium+3, Co+2 and several others like Fe+2, Mn+2, Zinc+2 etc. In all these cases the pH that we require is between 3 to 7. Okay. So we requires a different pH for a different ion. Okay. Okay. Now the next thing is the detection of the endpoint. How we can determine the endpoint? For this there are three methods. One is the use of indicator, the simplest method. Another one is the spectrophotometric method. By the use of spectrophotometer. Okay. And another one is the use of the ion selective electrode. About the spectrophotometric method we will see in the next video. Here we have to see the use of indicator. That is the simplest one thing. Okay. So indicators that are used in the complexometric titration depends upon the pH under which we are using the solution. Okay. So three indicators are basically used. The most common is the Areochrome black tea. We are seeing just the important things. Okay. We are not going in the deep of this whole. Okay. So Areochrome black tea is used in the pH range of the 7.5 to 10.5. Okay. And it is actually most commonly used in the case of the Mg+2 and EDTA titration. Right. So firstly what we have to do? We have given a magnesium solution, okay, to which we are adding the indicator, and when we are adding the indicator we are getting a magnesium indicator complex. Okay. And when we are treating it with the this EDTA salt, then we are getting this magnesium EDTA complex, and we are getting this and H plus ion. Okay. Why we are getting this reaction? Because we know that the stability of this metal EDTA complex is much more there as compared to this metal indicator complex. Okay. So the reaction always go in the forward direction, right? Now this is in the red color and here this is of blue color. So when the reaction go in the forward direction, the color changes from red to blue, and by which we can detect the endpoint. Okay. Another one, the second indicator is the Calmegite, and it is used in the pH range of 9 to 11, right? And it is used when we have to titrate the calcium and magnesium all together with the EDTA. Third one indicator is the xylenol orange. It is actually used in the acidic conditions when the pH range is from 1.5 to 3.0. Okay. And it is used whenever the metal form very strong complex with the EDTA. Okay. Okay, now the next important thing is the metal EDTA titration curve. For such type of curve, what we have to do? We have to plot the volume of the titrant. It means the volume of the EDTA that we are adding, that is in the ml, against the pm. It means we have to take on the x-axis the volume of the titrant, and on the y-axis we have to take the PM. Now you are thinking, what is this PM? Okay, I will tell you what is this PM. You know that in the acid bed titration we see the change in the concentration of the H plus ions, right? When we are seeing the change in the concentration of H plus ions, then we are using the pH on the y-axis. Similarly, here we are seeing the change in the concentration of this metal ions. So we are using here the PM. So what is this PM? PM is nothing. It is simply the minus logarithm of the concentration of Mn plus ions. Okay, this is the PM. Okay, this is the PM. We can write it here in this way. Okay, so this is the value of PM. So now here is the PM and this is the volume of the titrant. So as we are, this is the metal ion concentration. Okay, and when we are adding the EDTA solution to it, so we are getting a curve in this manner, right? And this will be the equivalence point, and at the point of the intersection, this is the point of the intersection, and when we are taking this to this y-axis, we are getting here the value of this PM. Okay, this is the equivalence point. And at this point we can get the value of PM. From this equation we can get the concentration of the Mn plus ions. Okay, so this method is used for the quantitative analysis of the metals, right? Here the EDTA is in axis, and here metal is in axis, right? Okay, now we can understand this whole process with the help of one example. It means how to determine the concentration of the calcium and the magnesium ions that are present in the hard water. For this, what we have to do? Firstly, we have to remove this magnesium ions. For this, what we have to do? Firstly, we have to adjust. Suppose we have given a solution. Here we have given a solution, okay, in which there are Ca plus 2 and Mg plus 2 ions. Okay, now we are adding here the NaOH solution. Okay, so what will happen? The pH of this will increase, and we have to increase the pH to 12. Okay, so what will happen when the pH becomes 12? These magnesium ions, this will react with this NaOH and it will precipitate as MgOH whole twice. Okay, this will get precipitated. Okay, so now in the solution there are only this calcium ions. Okay, so we can now titrate this with the EDTA. For this we have to use firstly the calcium carboxylic acid. As the indicator. Okay, and then we will add EDTA. Okay, we are adding this indicator and we are adding the EDTA. So what will happen? We can know the concentration of this Ca plus 2 ions. Okay, we can analyze this Ca plus 2 ions. Now what we have to do? We have to adjust the pH to 10. Okay, and then we have to use the indicator Areochrome black tea. Okay, we are using now this indicator. Okay, at the pH of 10. So what will happen? This both ions, calcium and magnesium ions, now will react with this EDTA and will form the complex. So we can analyze both the ions simultaneously. Now we know the concentration of both the ions and we know the concentration of Ca plus 2 alones. So by the difference we can get the concentration of magnesium ions. Okay, in this way we have to do this titration. Okay, now the next things are the types of the EDTA titrations. It means direct titration, back titration and displacement titration, and what is masking, demasking, which type of questions are asked in the CSIR and in the GATE exam. So that we will see in the next video, because this video is getting quite lengthy. Okay, so we meet you in the next video and see some more things. Thank you.